It all began on a very cold night when snow was swirling around. Suddenly, my phone rang. On the other end was my mother-in-law, and she was furious. She shouted at me, blaming me for my sister-in-law's terrible situation. "You need to take responsibility. Why did you leave my daughter?" she yelled, making me feel terrible. "My name is Amy, and I'm 33 years old. I live with my husband, Zach, who has parents and an older sister." That phone call changed my life completely. My mother-in-law cried, "Give me back my lively girl. I swear I'll make you pay for this." I tried to calm her down, saying, "I don't know what you're talking about." Even in my confusion, I wanted to understand what was happening, but it was hard to talk to her. She just kept shouting, "Why didn't you help her? Why did you leave her?" My mother-in-law wouldn't listen, even when I asked her to slow down. Then my father-in-law got on the phone. He said, "Amy, you need to understand what you've done. Our daughter has severe injuries, but she's not in danger. Why did you let her suffer?" I was confused and told him, "I'm sorry, but I really don't know what you're talking about. What happened?" He looked surprised that I had no idea, but he finally started to explain. My sister-in-law, a single mom, lived about a 20-minute walk from us. She had a boyfriend who often got angry and hurt her. The night before, he had been especially violent. Fearing for her life, she grabbed her child and ran outside into the snow without a place to go. She thought of her brother, Zach, and rushed to our house for help. When she rang the doorbell, Zach answered. My sister-in-law stood outside, clearly in distress, holding her child. Her face was bruised, and she was struggling to breathe. Anyone could see something was wrong, but Zach didn't seem to care. He looked annoyed and said, "If I let people in without asking Amy, she'll get mad. Sorry, but you need to go home. I don't want to deal with her anger." My sister-in-law was shocked by his response, but she needed to find somewhere safe. In tears, she pleaded for money to stay in a hotel since she had left in a hurry and didn't have her phone or wallet. Zach replied, "I don't have that kind of money. There's cash in the house, but Amy would never let me use it without asking. If I did, she'd divorce me. You need to find another place. It's too cold for me to stay outside, so I'm going back in." And he shut the door, leaving her in despair. Feeling hopeless and scared for their lives, my sister-in-law trudged back through the snow, reluctantly returning home. My sister-in-law suffered even worse violence from her angry boyfriend. He beat her until her face was unrecognizable, and he even kicked her child, causing him to lose consciousness. She tried to hold on to her boyfriend to stop him, but the violence only got worse. Her screams and the sounds of breaking dishes echoed through the neighborhood. A passerby heard the commotion and realized something was wrong, so they called the police. After that, my sister-in-law and her child were found, beaten and collapsed, and were taken to the hospital in an ambulance. While they were conscious, they were seriously injured and hospitalized, with doctors saying it would take a month for them to fully recover. I got home late last night from work, and my sister-in-law didn't show up after I arrived. If I had been there, I would have never turned her away. I believe that if I had seen her in such a state, I would have immediately let her in and called the police for help. I don't understand why my in-laws think I was the one who refused to help her. On top of the shock of what happened to my sister-in-law, it was hard to accept that my in-laws were crying and blaming me for it. I felt very confused. Even with my father-in-law's constant accusations, I knew I had to clear up this misunderstanding. I frantically explained. I wasn't home when my sister-in-law came by. I worked late at the cafe I run. If I had been home, I would have noticed something was wrong and let her in. I would never turn her away. Please give me time to figure out what happened. Although he didn't fully believe me, he seemed to calm down and hung up the phone. That day, I was busy at my cafe, trying to develop a new menu. I had told Zach when I expected to be home, but I ended up working longer than planned. I missed the last subway and had to take a taxi, arriving home after midnight. When I got home, I saw Zach, but he didn't mention anything about his sister. I was confused about why he acted that way, so I confronted him after he came home from work that night. His response shocked me. I could tell something was wrong when my sister-in-law showed up, but I was about to enjoy my cold beer and wanted to close the door quickly since it was freezing outside. I didn't think there was anything I could do. I felt frustrated by Zach's selfish excuse. "Didn't you feel anything when you saw her like that? Why couldn't you at least let her in? She's been through so much since you turned her away." When I explained his sister's condition, Zach justified his actions by saying, "Remember how you used to complain when my parents came over without notice? I thought I was being considerate by not letting her in, thinking you wouldn't like it. What did I do wrong?" It turned out he thought I would be annoyed if his sister showed up unannounced, so he sent her away. I asked. Why didn't you lend her any money? You could have done that much, right? He replied. I was surprised when she asked for money. I'm short on cash before payday, and I just lost money playing slots. I only had about $10 in my wallet. If I gave her our household money, I knew you would get mad, so I said no. I don't see anything wrong with that. I was shocked. I had always thought Zach was a bit self-centered but had good qualities too. I had been trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but now I realized that was a mistake. He couldn't make good decisions because he always thought of himself first. He had no compassion for others, not even for his sister. He cared more about his drinking than her distress. It was too late for me to realize this now. He didn't seem to feel guilty or responsible for his sister being rushed to the hospital. From his perspective, she would have ended up hurt no matter where she ran. At least she's safe in the hospital now. We're both safe, thanks to me, right? He talked as if it wasn't a big deal. His heartless comments made me feel like I was losing my mind, so I decided to stop talking to him. Holding back my anger, I told my father-in-law about Zach's irresponsible behavior towards his sister the night before. When he heard what I said, Zach's father lost control and shouted, "There's no way my Zach would do that to his own sister. You're lying. Stop making up stories." Amy, are you trying to make Zach look bad to escape your guilt? If you're going to say such things, show me proof. He refused to listen to me and blamed me for everything. I endured his accusations while desperately trying to figure out how to prove my innocence. If things stayed this way, I would be seen as a monster, while Zach, the real culprit who turned his sister away, would feel no guilt. I couldn't tolerate that. I remembered that my sister-in-law had arrived at our home around 9 p.m. that night. After thinking it over, I found something that could prove I wasn't at home. My cafe had a security camera, and the footage clearly showed me working alone until around 11 p.m. that night. Armed with this footage and a taxi receipt showing the time I got home, I went to my in-laws to prove my innocence. I was at my shop when your daughter came home. Do you believe me now? I asked, hoping they would finally understand. They probably didn't want to believe it, but with clear evidence, they had no choice. Zach's father trembled and muttered, "So Amy wasn't home then?" Despite their shock, Zach's parents quickly called him in to find out the truth about that night. As soon as he arrived, they demanded, "Why did you drive your sister away?" Just like before, Zach tried to shift all the blame onto me, claiming he thought I wouldn't want his sister in our home. Hearing this, his father said, "We already know Amy wasn't home after that time, but your sister says she saw a woman in the house. How do you explain that?" I was speechless. If there was another woman in our home at 9 p.m., there was only one possible explanation. Wait, Zach, what's going on? Who is this woman? I asked, my voice shaking. Zach's face turned pale as he squirmed under the questioning from both his parents and me until he finally confessed everything. When I told him I would be late because I was working on a new menu, he saw it as an opportunity to bring his mistress home. He knew I often came home after midnight when I was focused on work, so he felt safe inviting her over. But when his sister suddenly showed up asking to be let in, he panicked and drove her away to keep his affair a secret. What were you thinking? You betrayed Amy and left your sister out in the snow. Why didn't you lend her any money? Explain yourself. His father's anger was intense. Zach admitted the real reason he hadn't given her any money. He actually had plenty of cash left but didn't want to lend it to her because he wanted to buy a bag and shoes for his mistress. He didn't want to upset her for the sake of his sister, so he quickly got rid of her by shutting the door. I was furious, but Zach's parents were even angrier. Before being a brother or a husband, you lack basic human decency. As parents, it's our responsibility that you grew up to be this way, but we cannot tolerate this. From today on, we are cutting ties with you. Don't ever show your face to us again. Zach's father disowned him. In the same vein, I said, I'm divorcing you. You cheated on me and put your sister's life at risk by leaving her out in the snow. I can't live with someone like you anymore, I said. Zach was shocked to be disowned and confronted with a divorce all at once. He started begging for forgiveness, crying, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Please forgive me. He clung to his father's leg, but his father shook him off, saying, what you did is the absolute worst thing in our eyes. None of us, his parents or I, could ever forgive Zach. It turned out he had been having an affair with the other woman for a year. The mistress was a coworker whom he had secretly brought to our house when I wasn't around. It was infuriating to learn that I had been betrayed behind my back for so long. Zach even tried to blame his treatment of my sister-in-law on me, which only fueled my anger. I had no second thoughts about divorcing him. I made Zach sign the divorce papers and submitted them right away. After that, I went to a law firm, hired a lawyer, and filed for damages against both Zach and his mistress. I also called Zach's boss, who had been our matchmaker at our wedding, and through my tears, I told him we were getting a divorce. I explained everything about Zach's affair. His boss, a man who valued human decency, had repeatedly warned Zach at our wedding to never betray his wife. So, when he learned about the infidelity, he was furious. Word reached upper management, and on his boss's advice, Zach was transferred to a branch office in the countryside. His mistress was moved to a different department, where she had to sort documents all day. However, my sister-in-law's revenge was even more ruthless. Still recovering from her injuries, she deeply resented Zach for what he had done that day. To vent her anger, she took extreme measures. By coincidence, she worked for one of Zach's company's clients and knew some of his colleagues. Using her connections, she revealed the cruelty she and her child had suffered that day. The employees who thought the divorce was just about the affair were shocked to learn the truth. Zach's abandonment of his own sister to cover up his affair stunned everyone in the company. The rumor spread quickly, and soon, Zach was seen as a terrible human being by everyone at work. Once Zach was ostracized by everyone, his work suffered, and he was eventually demoted. He couldn't handle the cold treatment from his colleagues and found it hard to keep working in his new position, so he ended up quitting. To pay me the high alimony, he drained his savings and now works part-time jobs. Almost all his salary goes toward these payments, and I've heard he can't even afford a coat for winter, so he shivers in thin t-shirts. I no longer have to worry about missing the last train, and I can focus on coming up with new menu ideas. Though I went through unexpected events, I realize now that I probably wouldn't have been happy if I had stayed married. There are things one must never do as a human being, and I intend to always remember that and live a life I can be proud of. That's what I truly believe. As for the mistress, she stubbornly held on to her job despite the judgmental glances from her coworkers. After consulting my lawyer, I decided to ask her parents to pay the damages. When her parents found out, they were shocked and quickly made her pay the full amount after confirming the facts. I kept receiving calls from her, which I never answered, but she left numerous abusive messages in my voicemail, saying, "Why did you tell my parents? I'm in debt now. My life is ruined because of you." I found it unbearable, so I sent her messages to her parents. Later, I received an apology letter from them, promising they would never let their daughter bother me again, and the harassing phone calls stopped. As for my sister-in-law, the actions of her abusive boyfriend became a police matter, allowing her to file for damages due to her injuries. It was tough, but she finally managed to break up with him. My in-laws and sister-in-law apologized to me for initially suspecting me and for Zach's infidelity. Although both experiences were painful for me, I understood their outrage and loss of control when they saw their daughter taken away in an ambulance after such severe abuse. After all, Zach's affair wasn't their fault, and I didn't hold a grudge against them. On the contrary, I wanted them to help my sister-in-law and her child heal from their terrible experience. If I were in their shoes, I'm sure my parents would have reacted the same way. Moreover, my in-laws and sister-in-law are fundamentally decent people. Now that I've divorced Zach, I'll probably never see them again, as they are now strangers to me, but I sincerely wish them well and hope they take care of themselves. I moved closer to the cafe I run since it's within walking distance. I no longer have to worry about missing the last train, and I can focus on coming up with new menu ideas. Though I went through unexpected events, I realize now that I probably wouldn't have been happy if I had stayed married. There are things one must never do as a human being, and I intend to always remember that and live a life I can be proud of. That's what I truly believe.